You're watching The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales, streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
Somebody at Disney thought, what if we took these super cute baby Yoda, Grogu, the child, whatever you want to call him, and we mixed him with the one good thing from the sequel movies, Baba Frick. And they pushed them together into a moment. We've had that happen, and it was beautiful. Stay tuned for the Dan Wickline Show. Hey everybody, welcome to the Dan Wickline Show here on The Experience. It is March 2nd. Yes, it is. And we are going to talk about, of course, the first episode of Season 3 of The Mandalorian. We're going to talk about episode, I believe, 11 of The Bad Batch. I even have my Mandalorian hat on. Good to go for that. But we do have one bit of news. It hasn't been a big news day today, but we got one interesting bit of news, and we're going to cover that. But let's start off by saying hello to Ed, to Cool, and to Triple B. Good to see you guys. Glad you are here. The one bit of news has to do with something we talked about last week, which is the upcoming reboot of the Hellboy franchise. Now, I know a lot of people are huge fans of the Guillermo del Toro take on the character with Ron Perlman as Hellboy and Doug Jones as Abe Sapien. Both those movies did very well. And they never got around to doing a third one. And I believe a lot of that had to do with Guillermo del Toro's time. He couldn't find it in his schedule to get around to doing the third movie. So eventually they moved on. They cast David Harbour, who you guys know as Red Guardian in the MCU. He was on the Newsroom. He's been on Stranger Things, a bunch of stuff. And that movie didn't do as well. It's not a bad movie. I liked it. But I think that it was probably a little more convoluted than people were expecting. JD is correct. David Hyde Pierce voiced Abe Sapien, but the body was Doug Jones. And then when the second movie came out, David Hyde Pierce said, well, why on earth are you hiring me when Doug Jones could just do the dialogue too? And they ended up going that route. So, which is pretty cool for an actor to go, dude, just the guy you've got in the suit. Something that would not have happened in Star Wars, because if you ever get to hear the actual footage of them filming the first Star Wars movie, and David Prowse is actually saying the lines of Darth Vader, it is very different. To hear a guy with a Cockney accent or whatever his accent is doing the lines. It just does not work nearly as well as James Earl Jones. But in this case, Doug Jones did an amazing job in the second Hellboy movie, voicing the character as well as portraying it. So, but they're moving on to a third incarnation of Hellboy. And this time it's coming from, what's the name of the company? Millennium Media. It's a smaller company, so they're not doing the big budget. And they've got Brian Taylor, who directed the movie Crank, as the director. It's being written by Mike Mignola and Christopher Golden, who write the majority of the Hellboy comics. Mike Mignola created Hellboy. Christopher Golden has been his writing partner for quite a few years now. JD says, I've heard David Prowse's lines. He hated that he was replaced and by all accounts died mad about it. That's a shame. But it still doesn't work as well as James Earl Jones's voice. So they've got this movie moving forward. It's supposed to start filming in the next couple of months. They're going to push it through. Again, it's not going to be a huge budget. So where they're saving some money is they didn't go out and get a big name established actor, which I think is a good thing. I'd rather focus more on the character and then less on who is playing the character. Well, who they got is an actor named Jack Casey, Kesy, and you've probably seen him. He was in Deadpool 2, playing Black Tom, one of the mutants who was in the prison with Deadpool and the kid when Cable attacks. Also, he plays Claus in the TV series The Strain. He's been in a few other things too, but overall, he's a young up-and-coming actor. And Jonathan Younger, the co-president of Millennium Media, talked about his casting. And he said that Jack Casey is a dynamic actor who has the ability to morph into his roles. His talent and stature are perfect for this younger Hellboy. I was very impressed with him while working together on The Outpost, a movie they have coming up together. Now, right there, though, the key to take away from that statement is this younger Hellboy. And I think that's the key of why they're going with a new actor, is they could do Ron Perlman was in his 50s or so, I believe, when they did Hellboy. David Harbour, I think, is also in his 50s, where Jack Casey, I'm not sure his age, but it's probably a good thing to check. But he's definitely younger than them. And in doing so, he's 36 years old. So it gives you this new starting point that you could get 10 years of movies out of, because that's what you do now. You don't cast somebody with the idea of we're just going to do a movie. You're casting with the idea of we're going to do a franchise. So getting somebody who's 36, who hasn't done a lot, who's going to be willing to sign on for X number of pictures, and you're going to get a good deal on them and build a franchise around them. So I think that's a pretty smart move. And the truth is, if he's got the voice and he can do the acting, then what do we care who he is? I mean, the character is Hellboy. It's not, you can, when you've got a character like, I don't know, when they were doing Doctor Strange and they were trying to cast somebody and Benedict Cumberbatch came up, everybody thought that was perfect casting. And then when he turned it down, everybody was all over the place. Joaquin Phoenix was in talks. And it became a big thing because everybody wanted these big name actors. But what works is when you cast for talent and you don't necessarily go for the name draw. And I think that's what they did here. I think Hellboy itself will be the draw. And they're not spending a fortune on an actor where they can put that money elsewhere. Now, this is the first casting announcement that we've heard. I'm expecting to hear quite a few more. Like I said, they're supposed to start shooting soon. So the plot for this is based on one of the Hellboy graphic novels or series. The Crooked Man. And the movie is set to be, like I said, to begin soon. It will have Hellboy stranded in a 1950s rural Appalachia with a rookie BPRD agent, BPRD being the Bureau of Paranormal Research and Development. There they discover a small community haunted by witches, led by a local devil with a troublesome connection to Hellboy's past, that being the Crooked Man. So it sounds like they're doing a lot of things that I would love to, I love them doing. They're condensing the movie down. Like I said, Hellboy, the Hellboy with David Harbour seemed to be a little convoluted and a little overstuffed, you know, where if they can actually boil it down to just the adventure they're on, that'll keep people keeps people attention. Triple B says that sounds awesome. I agree, you know, but so you don't do the big castings. You bring in talented actors, and since they're mostly in makeup and stuff anyway, what do we care? Um, I have not read The Crooked Man, so I don't know if it's a takeoff of that or if it's actually adapting that story. So I don't know who the BPRD agent is. If it's someone we've seen in the comics, if they're coming up with a new character, if we'll get any of the sub characters, but I kind of want them just to focus on Hellboy. Save Abe and all the other characters for the sequels. Give us a good Hellboy movie that focuses on building the character, and then you can start bringing in uh, the girlfriend with the fire abilities and Abe Sapien and the Golem and Johann and all those characters. Maybe that's just speaking for myself. It feels like in my heart that the first two Hellboy movies feel like an unfinished story, like a TV show canceled in between seasons after a cliffhanger. Maybe that's why people are clinging to those actors. And that is absolutely a legitimate statement. I think it did feel like there should have been a third one, but you can't blame the studios involved and the copy, the people who own the licenses and stuff, if Del Toro can't find the time to come back and do the third movie. I never got the impression that he was turned down, that they said no to it. From interviews and stuff with Ron Perlman, it sounded more like Del Toro just didn't have a chance to come back to it. And Perlman wasn't going to do the movie without Del Toro. So it's not like they could have moved on and had somebody else come in. Ron didn't want to do it without Del Toro. Jay says, I wish they could have finished the trilogy, but Ron's 72. Hopefully this one will get enough praise so we get a trilogy eventually, if that in fact is the plan. I don't know if companies plan trilogies anymore or if they just plan on creating a franchise. And I think that's probably the more obvious idea. The fact that they're bringing in Mignola and Christopher Golden to write the story, to actually do the script, I think is fascinating and to me on the right track. And then if you read the Hellboy books, there really isn't a big overarching story. They're kind of standalone adventures with little bits that carry over. So there is a cohesive universe there. Like right now, we're reading for in stores this week. We're reading a lot of Hellboy stuff, and there's the Hellboy in Love comic. There's uh, there's a couple different ones, but there's also Koshi in Hell, which is fascinating and could be an interesting character to spin off of. There's the BPRD stories when they do those. There's this I don't remember the name of it. It's about blackbirds, and there's a witch that does it. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on with Hellboy right now. There's even a Frankenstein spinoff story that has like Frankenstein in the future. So there's a lot to pull from. You've got the writers involved doing it. You have a director who is great at showing action. Did you guys ever see the Crank movie? Future Stein. Castle Full of Blackbirds. Thank you, Jay. Um, Crank was an interesting movie. It's a Jason Statham movie with is it Amy Smart, I think is the actress. But the whole point of the movie is that he's got a poison or something in his system, and he has to keep his adrenaline up if to stay alive. And he goes through all of this stuff, you know, shocking his heart with electricity and just doing wild, crazy stuff, all to keep himself alive so he can get revenge. Crank, JD says, Crank and Crank 2 are masterpieces. I didn't remember for sure if there was a Crank 2. I think I've seen it. But yeah, I don't know how you do a Crank 2, but yeah. But they were good movies. And I know the director did the first one. I don't know if he did the second. But Brian Tyler, I believe is his name. And it was a good action movie. So I'm hoping he brings that sensibility to this. Because a good Hellboy action movie could be fun. And like I said, keeping the story kind of insular to the small town and to the crooked man, just focusing on the one, Hellboy and the new recruit for the BPRD kind of narrows it down. You're not dealing with a whole bunch of side characters and establishing the BPRD and dealing with Hellboy's origin or all of that. If they can just boil it down to the story that they're telling involving this town, this village, I think it could be really good and a good new place to start. Jay says, Crank 2 has a kaiju scene, right? I don't remember at all. Maybe JD has the answer to that one. Hey, Kenneth, good to see you. So yeah, I'm excited for the new Hellboy movie. I love the fact that they're moving quickly on this. I mean, they just announced that they were going to do it and that Millennium Media was involved and that who the director is and who the writer is. And now they've already got their lead actor. So I can't wait to hear the other casting to see where that's going to go. So yeah, I'm really excited about it. Yeah. Hollywood is an interesting place right now because they seem very eager to make movies based off of properties that they've already worked on. Hellboy is just the latest to get another reboot. There's an Alien or Aliens reboot in the works, and they were just announcing some actors for that. They are doing live action versions of movies that nobody's ever wanted live action versions of. It's just, it's kind of strange because you've got two types of movies right now. You've got these big movies that have properties that people are attached to. And then you have these little art house type pictures like The Whale and something Darling, Don't Worry Darling. And I mean, you get these other movies. So it's like you get the artsy movie and you've got the action movies. And there's very little in between. I mean, The Haunted Mansion has a movie come out. They just put a teaser trailer out for that. Looks interesting. Great looking cast. Owen Wilson, Rosario Dawson, Danny DeVito. Could be interesting. But again, didn't we do a Haunted Mansion movie not that long ago with Eddie Murphy? Do we need another one? Now, that one wasn't that good. So if they do another one and it's a good one, great. But Hollywood seems to be afraid to try new things with any kind of budget So they'll do these small movies that if they don't do that well, then they go, well, it's an Academy Award winner or it's a BAFTA winner. And then they do these other movies. It's like, well, it may not have won anything, but it's got a huge box office number. So The Haunted Mansion with Eddie Murphy came out 20 years ago. Thanks, JD. The other day I heard that the season finale of MASH, series finale of MASH, um, came out 40 years ago. And I remember watching it live. So time in life is a black hole. Hey, Logical, how you doing? Thanks for that bit of joy. All right, guys, let's go ahead and we'll take our first break. And we'll come back and we'll start talking about the Bad Batch and the Mandalorian. Be right back.
Did you know that every experience show, including some exclusive content, streams on Twitch? Check it out. Twitch.tv/the_EXP. Or just scan that QR code.
Imagine being at a convention and going to an interview panel that's just for you. No bustling crowds, no hours-long lines, just you, the moderator, and your favorite comic book creators. Well, this is pretty much that. Miss Jen sits down every week with 2 comic book creators for a live stream interview about their latest work, and you can ask them whatever you want. It's Talking Shop, Mondays at 5 Eastern on The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales. To be continued. 3 little words that hold the secret to the next great story. 3 words that will thrill you, confound you, give life to new possibilities. Every variation of To Be Continued is a promise of adventure, a promise of excitement, a promise of unseen wonders and unexplored worlds. A promise that every issue you read makes you a part of a never-ending journey, and behind every page there will be an unopened door waiting for you. This story to be continued at your local comic book shop today. Visit comicshoplocator.com today.
Programming on the EXP is made possible by viewers like you, or your local comic shop, or that Kickstarter you backed, or the publisher you like, or comic industry professionals who want to share a message with the world. Really, anyone who wants to advertise with us can. If you're interested in seeing a product you know and love, or are creating, or are publishing, or are involved with, advertised here on The Experience, and having your message shared with our viewers, please reach out by scanning the QR code below or visiting our website and using the contact form.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Dan Wickline Show here on The Experience. We got a good lineup today. Right after this is going to be What's in the Box, followed by Space Cadets. And then tonight we have Sketch Up with Mog Park and Mog and Mel Park and their guest, Christopher Caravallo, who does the book Pele. So stick around for all of that. It's going to be a great night. We do have some breaking news just announced. Star Trek Discovery, which is the Star Trek Legacy series that helped launch Paramount Plus. Originally, it was CBS All Access back in 2017. Then it changed to Paramount Plus. So this was one of the series that got the whole thing kicked off. It's going to come to an end. They've decided that the 5th season, which will air in early 2024, so a year from now, will be the final. They will end after season 5. So, but this is the actual announcement from Tanya Giles, Chief Programming Officer at Paramount Streaming. She said, Star Trek Discovery is a perennial favorite on the service, near and dear to the hearts of legions of Star Trek fans, as well as all of us here at Paramount Plus. The series and its incredible cast and creatives ushered in a new era for Star Trek when it debuted over 6 years ago, embracing the future of streaming with serialized storytelling, bringing to life deep and complex characters that honor Gene Roddenberry's legacy of representing diversity and inclusion, and pushing the envelope with award-winning world building. The final season will see our beloved crew take on a new adventure, and we can't wait to celebrate the series' impact on the franchise leading up to its final season early next year. So if you are a fan of Star Trek Discovery, you're going to get one more season, and that will be it. So JD says, TLDR, corporate word salad. Yeah, pretty much. They're going to basically run these guys out all over the place to promote it. You're going to see the actors from the show popping up at events and conventions and stuff they say to honor the 4 previous seasons. But yeah, they're going to hype the hell out of the 5th season. Hope it gets more people to watch the streaming service. And then when all their contracts are up for renewal, they're going to go, we're out of here. So at least that's how it looks to me. Though a lot of actors tend to sign 7-year contracts, if I remember correctly, but this might be a 5-year contract. So, all right, let's talk about the Bad Batch first. That way we could spend a big chunk of time on the Mandalorian. This episode of the Bad Batch was interesting. They've been doing these little thematic homages this season where they kind of take other movies and do a nod to it in the basic story. The easiest one to pick out is the Raiders of the Lost Ark theme in the episode a few episodes back, where they go looking for the heart of the mountain. That type of thing. Well, this latest episode feels a lot like Alien with a monster on the ship. And by the way, we're going to have spoilers the rest of the show. So, JD, you want to do the spoiler thing? I also did that in case Ed fell asleep. The episode is also really important for world building. Dave Filoni seems to be trying to fix what people think were wrong with anything that's come out from Star Wars. The Clone Wars was his way of fixing the prequels, making them better, making them, improving them, connecting the dots, filling in plot holes, all of that. And now he's using the Bad Batch to kind of connect the dots between those two. So this episode leans heavily into one of the most jeered moments in all of Star Wars history, and that's when Oscar Isaac's character of Poe Dameron says the line, "Somehow Palpatine returned." They have been building it up, whether it's in Mandalorian or now here. They're trying to show the backstory of the cloning and how Palpatine was able to set up the cloning stuff and how to clone a Force-sensitive Jedi body so that he could then take over. They're doing all these things to connect the dots there so that the hand wave they did in the movies of, oh yeah, Palpatine returned. Yeah, that's not the important thing. The important thing here is he's back, not how. Well, Filoni seems to be trying to fill in the blanks on that. And this goes in that direction as well. The end of last season, we saw the destruction of the Kaminoan cloning facility and the top cloner taken into custody. I think it's like Nana Se or something like that is her name. Well, this episode, we pick it up with her being held on the planet that they've said has been where they did the cloning for Palpatine. And we're introduced to a new villain. Prior to this, we've been dealing with Admiral Rampart. Or maybe it was General, I think it was Admiral Rampart. And we find out everything gets blamed on him. He's the one that destroyed the Camino cloning base. And the Emperor uses him as a scapegoat. So he was kind of taken off the board. So now we're introduced to one of the most on-the-nose named doctors ever, Dr. Hemlock. It's like, really? You've named him after poison. It's a little on the nose. That's my only complaint about the episode, is that it really is little on the nose. But he is one of those very soft-spoken villains, very thoughtful villains. And he should be a great villain. Again, though, the name, they could have went something better than Hemlock. But and we get an idea of the threat to the Bad Batch because Hemlock is trying to get the cloner to continue her work on the project, but she won't. And the only other of her species that's left from Camino is the Prime Minister, and he tells them flat out, well, if you want to make her work, you need to find this one special female clone. And of course, they're talking about Omega. So JD says it's better than Dooku. Got to give it that. Well, okay, yeah. It is better than Dooku. That's probably the worst name. I mean, even Jar Jar Binks is better name than Dooku. And it says, true story, in my hometown was Dr. He Hoculus, best name ever for a doctor. Around here, there is a dentist, and I swear to you, this is real, named Dr. Toothacher. Best dentist name ever. And not one you'd ever forget. So this episode, it's got this horror story thing going on where there's a ship that's been attacked. It's crashed. Mesa no likey. The creature ends up bringing the ship down, and the Bad Batch are sent to, salvage anything from it by Sid, and you see the tension between them and Sid growing, and you can tell they're going to have to split away, and there's a good chance Sid's going to betray them. But then she is a Transdojan, so she's already outside of her comfort zone anyway. So yeah, they go and we discover it's a clone of a creature from the Clone Wars episodes. So there's a lot of connections all around, but the whole point of this is we see the advancement of the cloning, and the Bad Batch actually get the data. So they get an idea of what's going on, and they're going to share it with Rex and Echo. So you can see them. This episode's called Metamorphosis. And what we're really seeing is this team that has basically been the A-team for the last season, where they just kind of help people out and while they're traveling around. But they're going to they're morphing into this team of rebels. I think by the end of this, we're building towards them becoming a big part of the rebellion. And I think this was a key episode for it, because they really get the idea that bad things are happening and they're not going to be able to sit out. And then also throw in the fact that they're going to be actively hunted again because of the character of Omega. Hemlock wants Omega to use her against the cloning doctor. I wish I remember her name. I do think it's Nana Se or something like that. So I think this is an episode that is a major paradigm shift for the show. Plus, it was a fun episode. I mean, you get the horror aspect of it. You get the team working together. And again, the team is a man short with Echo off with Rex. So it's interesting to see them working as a 4-person team, if you count Omega, because you can see they're shorthanded. They really do need that extra person, because there's always one thing, someone has to go alone, or someone has, there is that missing element. So hopefully they will end up back together with Echo and maybe even Rex or something going in the future. So, all right. I think that's where we'll wrap it up on the Bad Batch. Let's go ahead. We'll take our final break so that we can spend the rest of the show talking about The Mandalorian. We will be right back.
Join the party. Head over to our link tree to find all the links for everywhere the experience is all the time. What if Hans Gruber from Die Hard had to battle the Joker from Batman the Animated Series in a dance battle? Or who would win in a race between Baby from Baby Driver and Snidely Whiplash? If Austin Powers and Shrek found themselves in a hot dog eating contest, who would emerge victorious? These are the questions we talk about on Nerd Killer Warfare. Debate the most absurd questions you've ever heard in popular culture. Register now by scanning the QR code or visiting bit.ly/EXP casting.
Comic Collectibles is a pretty straightforward show. You got Rex here, he sells the comics, and you got Rockin' Robbie, he knows about the comics. And finally, John, no one really knows what John does. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's a great guy, but he just keeps showing up. Come to think of it, I don't even really know how he gets in here. Anyway, awesome comics, rare books, rarer signatures, slabbed books, and amazing cover sketches by Ken Hazer and others. Simple formula, you want the comics, you buy the comics. To sum up, Rex sells the comics, Robbie knows the comics, and John, who might possibly be a ghost. I mean, seriously, has anyone ever seen him show up or leave? Comic Collectibles with Rex and John, Mondays from 6 to 8 Eastern on The Experience. Comic Culture and Sales.
You know how when you go to Comic-Con, after Comic-Con, you go to the hotel bar, and there's a whole bunch of people playing music and dancing, and you've got Pikachu and Lara Croft Tomb Raider doing the cha-cha slide just down from Deadpool and Batman and Wonder Woman? That's every Saturday night over on the Experience Twitch channel. Join Taji Beats for the EXP Dance Party, exclusively on Twitch, twitch.tv/the_EXP.
everybody, welcome back to the Dan Wickline Show here on The Experience. We are talking about The Mandalorian Season 3, Episode 1. Let's jump right into it. By the way, hello, Josh. Good to see you. By the way, do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button, the like buttons, all those things, and remember to subscribe here on YouTube for the upcoming giveaway where we're going to be giving away 15 slabbed comics. So definitely want to sign up for subscribe for that. Ed says Mando 3-1 got me. I thought for sure the kid at the beginning was Mando getting himself a helmet for the first time. Then instead, Mando comes flying in and kills a Crocozilla. Great way to start. Well, let's start right there. First thing, just a bit of new. He's right. It opens up with the armorer working on a new helmet, a kid-size helmet. And then we basically see the coming of age for a Mandalorian. What's the term they use for him? Not a cast-off, but a foundling. A Mandalorian foundling where they give him his helmet. And from that point forward, he's not supposed to take it off. Hey, Andrew. And it's an interesting opening. A little bit of side note there. The kid, we've actually seen him before in a way. It's the same kid who played the Tusken Raider child that worked with Boba Fett in Book of Boba Fett. So it's the same kid. They brought him back since we didn't see his face then. They were able to use him here. And the kid is Wesley Kimmel, the nephew of late night comedian Jimmy Kimmel. So they were just talking about that with Jon Favreau on Jimmy Kimmel Live the other night. Andrew says, great opening, Mandos versus Gamera. Yep. Logical is going to jump over to YouTube. Greetings here from Twitch chat. Lenny is Logical Robot. Got it. Josh says, my first thought, the kid's head is going to get hella stuck when he grows. Yeah, they'll probably get him a bigger helmet when he gets older. Because then he can go into another room and change it without no problem. So the opening I thought was pretty interesting. And yeah, I think everybody got the same thing that Ed did. That, wait, is that supposed to be Din Djarin? Is that like a young Din Djarin? So, yeah, nepotism infects the children of the watch. Next on Fox News. Yes. Jon Favreau's friend Jimmy Kimmel gets, yeah, they didn't even know he was, Jimmy's kid or nephew until Jimmy mentioned it on the show. And then Jon Favreau's going, wait, we hired who? So he was actually cast by Robert Rodriguez, which I thought was interesting. So the opening shows all the Mandalorians working together, and it does give you that impression that it might be a young Din Djarin, except for we already see Paz Vizsla, the heavy machine gunner character, which I don't know if he would be there yet because him and Din seem to be about the same age or maybe close. Did you realize when season 3 ends, it'll be May? Is that a Backstreet Boys or whatever it is reference? Or May the 4th? So it's a good opening, and then we see Mando come in with the N1 starfighter and kill the big giant meth crocodile there. And it's a bit of a recap for anybody who didn't watch the Book of Boba Fett, because he goes in and he sees the armorer, and they kind of restate the fact, you took your helmet off, you're not a Mandalorian anymore, but what if I go bathe in the waters under this? Well, that's what this says. So it's just kind of a recap in case you didn't watch a Book of Boba Fett. But if you didn't watch the Book of Boba Fett, you're probably going, okay, why is Baby Grogu back with him? Why does he have a new starship? I mean, there's so many things that happened in those 2 episodes of Boba Fett that all they do is they go, well, this is his new mission. We got you covered. It's like, no, there was more stuff that you got to cover here. Andrew says, am I the only one giddy seeing different styles of, so many different styles of Mandos? I'm sure Hasbro will be happy to make figures for all of them. And then he says, I was studying every single one. Yeah, I know that Lego already has a bunch of Mandalorians out there that you can, get sets. So there's probably some that they might have looked at the Legos and went, oh, let's do one with the green helmet, because we need one with a green helmet. And there are Mandalorians with green helmets. So the first episode, like I said, really does feel like they went, we better catch people up just so they know what he's doing. But they didn't bother to say why Grogu's back. They didn't explain where he got the ship from, any of that. So not really a great catch up, but it's a good way to open. Plus you get the action. You get to see all the Mandalorians in action. So it's a reminder, Mandalorians kick ass, by the way, and you're going to see a lot of them in this new season. So Ed says, what do you think the Grogu was looking at when, I already got an answer for you on that one. From there, they head off to start this quest for Din to basically purge himself in the waters of Mandalore, under Mandalore, the living waters. And as they're going through hyperspace, it's a long flight, so Din is sleeping, but Grogu is climbing around. I love the fact that he can go from, back and forth between the cockpit and his little bubble part. But as he's looking off to the side, there is a silhouette of what looks to be a whale. And I say a whale, there's actually a term for it. It's called a purlos. Wait, let me see. I've got it here. Purgils. Yeah. Jeff Wedding has it there too. Purgils. They are basically whales in space that can travel through hyperspace. They're how mankind or life form figured out how to travel through hyperspace, is from them. They know how. And they're a huge part of the Rebels TV show or the animated series. It's how Ezra Bridger was able to defeat Admiral Thrawn by having these whales take them all through another way part of the galaxy far away. Now, and that's, I think they're going to be a big part of the Ahsoka Tano series and stuff like that. So it's kind of interesting to actually see them referenced here, because they're going to become a big part of what's happening in the future for the shows that all connect together. Ed says, that was adorable when Grogu saw the whales and then went down to cuddle with Mando because he was scared. That was so cute. Yeah, that was a cute moment. There's a lot of cute moments in this episode. From there, we end up on Navarro, and I think this is the place where we get the best feeling of how much time has passed. Because every time we go back to Navarro now, they've progressed. They've become a bigger city, a better city. Walking through now, you see more expensive droids. You see Amon Calamari, who are always good guys. So to have him there, so you see how much the city's built up. Now, instead of a dirt road, they actually have white cobblestone streets. The entire, they're part of a trade route now, but they're an independent people. So you see how much Grief Karga has brought it along. And of course, they do deal with the fact that Cara Dune is gone by doing this basic one-liner when Karga says he needs a marshal and offers the job to Din. And Din's like, what happened to Cara Dune? And the answer is, well, when she came back with Moff Gideon, she got recruited for a special forces thing. Now, there's a good chance that was already what was going to happen, because the idea was that Cara Dune was going to go off into her own series, the Rangers of the New Republic. Now, that's kind of done because of what happened with Gina Carano, but I think it's the same excuse for taking her off the show. But it's interesting why Din goes to Navarro. And it's because he wants to get a droid to explore Mandalore with him, and he's decided that he wants IG-11. Josh says she went back to her home planet with the Poochie. Ed says Grogu and the flying M&M chocolates. You know, they're going to market that somehow. Andrew says Rangers of the New Republic should happen with Timothy Oliphant, damn it. Andrew, you're going to have to like kidnap Dave Filoni just to get all your ideas into the show. I'm not recommending that, by the way, Andrew. Don't kidnap Dave Filoni or Jon Favreau. So the idea is that he wants IG-88 or IG-11, and and what they have as part of the statue is, it isn't that it's all statue. There is part of IG-11 in that statue. They just made the rest of them out of bronze. Well, they take the part that's real and try to rebuild it, and when they do, he reverts, and then you turn him on. He reverts to his other programming, which was to destroy or to kill the asset, which was Grogu. So he's like crawling around on one arm to go after it, and he ends up, they end up crushing him with a bust, but they're still trying to fix him. And they take him to see the best droid builders, or droid mechanics, who are the Enzellan, who you may know as Baba Frick. Now, this isn't actually Baba Frick, but it's Baba Frick's people. And we get the moment. This is just one of the best scenes in all of Star Wars. You've got Din Djarin inside the Baba Frick house that's all crunched down like it's underneath. Like it's like the room from Being John Malkovich. And he's crunched down in there with Grogu and the Anzellans. And they're telling him this can't be repaired. You need a new memory chip. And their language is so weird that Grief Karga is like sticking his head in through the hole and translating. And it's this great scene. And then Grogu tries to hug one of the Anzellans, and they're like, ah! So it is a great scene. Let's see. JD says, just CGI some blasters into Justified. There you go. Lenny says, surprised Grogu did not get gently pushed to one side during the face-off. He looked very unprotected from a rogue shot. Still a cool scene. Ed says, the scene reminded me a lot of Terminator when half of Arnold is trying to kill Sarah at the end. Yeah. Andrew says, which brings up the idea, who hired IG-11 to specifically kill the asset? Yeah, I don't think they ever answered that. I know they sent multiple bounty hunters, but I don't know who would have sent it to specifically kill the asset, but they're not pets, Grogu. Not pets. Yeah, that's a great line. Also, there's the shootout with the pirates, which turns into an important thing later as we see him in the pirate dogfight with the pirates. Interesting that the pirate's name is Vane, and there's a famous actual real-world pirate named Vane. So I wonder if that's where they borrowed it from. And of course, we get an idea of his captain, Gorian Shards. And I don't think we would have seen those characters and have them survived if they aren't coming back. So you can pretty much assume the pirates will be back. It is a great fight scene showing what the N1 can do, how it would have been so much easier in that ship than it would have been in the Razor Crest, even though I miss the Razor Crest. I love the Razor Crest. Lenny says, oh, did anyone notice the tiny robots? Yes. Carrying the train on Karga's cape. That was great. He's just getting higher and higher mighty, isn't he? Was it the High Magistrate now? And of course, the episode ends when Mando uses the hyper speed or whatever the hell it is to get away that Pelimoto put on the ship. Ends up on what was the name of the planet? Let's see, I got it here. On Calamara, where Bo-Katan is in her castle, and we find out that all of her allies have abandoned her because she does not have the Darksaber, which makes you think she is going to be going after the Darksaber, trying to get it from Mando at some point. Andrew says, I'm thinking the pirates are recurring bad guys. Probably. They're probably going to pop up regularly, or he'll end up recruiting them, one of the two. Now, I thought the episode was great, and we only got a couple minutes left, but I want to bring this up. I've been talking about how there's this negativity towards Marvel. And the reason I bring that up is because Mandalorian is a very successful series. Everybody seems to love it. And now there's a negative backlash. And it's the dumbest negative backlash that I have heard in a very long time. And this is an article from, is it Comic Book? Or it's CBR, Comic Book Resources. But they are basically talking about some fans reacting to Mandalorian negatively because of Andor. And you get tweets like, there are some great visual effects going on in the season premiere of The Mandalorian, but oh boy, the writing has become worst thing about the show after Andor. Hard to ignore how weak this dialogue is, and the delivery isn't much better. Another one says, Andor made me legit ready to battle fascist oppression at the potential cost of life. The Mandalorian makes me want to buy a cute plush toy. Personally, I prefer the Star Wars. It challenges me to be something other than a man-child, but that's just me. And then one more said, after watching and thoroughly enjoying Andor, I must admit The Mandalorian is absolute crap. What the hell? Why are people reacting? I don't get it. I do not get it. A show becomes successful and immediately people turn on it. It's just ridiculous, and it's happening more and more and more, and it's just driving me crazy. So, all right, guys, I'm going to have to wrap it up there. Lenny says, yes, Andor was pretty good, but they are putting it on a pedestal there. Ed says they're nuts. Mando is great. They can go delete themselves. And yeah, I mean, that's the basic thing. So, all right, remember to stick around. What's in the Box is next, followed by Space Cadets. And tonight is Christopher Caravallo on Sketch Up with Mog and Mel Park. So you want to stick around for all that. Please hit the like and subscribe buttons if you haven't already. And I will see you guys next week. Have a great one. Talk to you soon. Good night.
Do you remember what it was like when you were a little kid and you got a letter in the mail? Now imagine that letter was filled with information about your favorite shows, pop culture questions, links to things you're going to want to see later, and even sneak peeks at upcoming programming here on The Experience. That's what the EXP mailing list is. Every week, we send you sneak peeks, information, and all of the relevant links for all of the shows you want to see. Sign up now on our website or scan the QR code that's on your screen right now.